Yeah, man. So a lot of people been asking me, or have for a long time, people ask me all the time, what does the broadcast machine look like, or what does the mind control look like? So it's the devices that the gang stalkers use. It's pretty much the only devices other than their phone and a virtual device that they use as a broadcast. So um, the mind control looks about like this hat I'm wearing. So if it comes around the side of the head a little more, um, and basically that's it. And it's got a wire that comes down and has wristbands. They call that the stabilizers, and then it comes down to another wire to a black box that's like the battery slash receiver, or maybe just be the battery. I'm not sure, but they usually clip that onto like a belt or something that they'll wear. Even if they're naked, they'll wear this so they can have the mind control and clip that battery onto them. I've seen one and it has like a little green light, a little LED light on the side, like a meter, like a power meter or something like that. So that's the mind control, and it emits EEGs into the mind of the person wearing it. Depending on who they connect to multiple people. That's how they connect to targeted people, to mind rape target person. That some of them sometimes they have eye covers, okay, that'll come down and cover their eyes, and it's an optional thing that they can use or not use because sometimes they're just connected to other gang stalkers or other people, and they want to have mind control sex with them. So what that means is they have the other person's feelings and senses emitted into their mind. So while they're being intimate or while they're with each other, they can feel each other's senses and know each other's thoughts. Now, if they connect to a targeted person or remote neural monitoring, then they would use the eye covers usually, and so they can see the view in their mind of that person that they're connected to. So it's almost like they're living virtually as that person because they'll have that person's thoughts emitted into their mind at the same time as seeing that person's vision with the eye covers on. They don't have to use the eye covers, but I imagine seeing two things at once, it gets confusing. So, and oftentimes they'll just be having sex with people while they're on mind control like that with the eye covers on. So I've seen in a lot of cases through broadcasts that these girls don't even know who they're having sex with, and they just have sex with whoever's having sex with them, and everybody just kind of wanders around in a mind control hive, and they all just fuck each other, and that's literally how it gets that nasty. It's very good technology. I mean, it works perfectly. If somebody in the group of the connected people has an orgasm, it makes everybody have an orgasm. I've actually made them shit on themselves before while they were connected to me, and I took a shit. So that's the mind control headset, okay? And they're always using that. That's what they always use, okay? Even when they get on the broadcast machine, they always use the mind control headset because it receives inward. It's like an amplifier, okay? So that's what they use, and they call it a mind control, and it's an EMF headset, okay? That's the one device. The Now let me one more explanation about that thing. With the mind control on, they can broadcast a hologram of EMF hologram and connect to it to live virtually through it. So they could be having virtual sex with holograms with another person's hologram, and that's what they see in their mind with the eye covers on while somebody else is having physical sex with them, and they're all connected to each other on mind control. So it gets very confusing. Half the time they don't even know who the hell they are or who they're fucking or anything else. So that's how it works. And the range is very limited to connect to a broadcasted hologram with the mind control only. Okay, very limited within probably 100 feet or less. I don't know this exact specifics, but I know if they want to connect very far, they have to be on the broadcast machine. So that's the mind control. And in the broadcast machine, uh, I called it the machine to begin with when I could tell like they were telepathic, and I could tell that they were on some kind of machine putting voltage through them when they were broadcasting to me, talking to me or whatever, and gangs talking to me. And so I started calling it a machine, and it's stuck. So we call it the broadcast machine or the machine. So they call it that. I call it. I have a profound effect on what they say because a lot of half the stuff they say is stuff that I started, but they call it a broadcast initially. And what it looks like is, if you ever seen those bowl things that go over your head in a salon, like the hair dryer things, it looks like that. Okay, they'll have like a wooden chair with the broadcast thing rigged up over the top of you. Okay, and they sit in that chair with the broadcast thing over the top of them, and that broadcasts them outward. It's an outward broadcast thing. Okay, and the mind control is inward, and the broadcast is outward. It's an amplifier as well. So they use that to connect to the hologram broadcasts at a further distance, some couple 100 feet or maybe a couple 100 yards, maybe even up to like a mile or a half mile or something. I'm not sure the specifics again, but that's how it works. Now, usually in this wooden chair, there will be clamps built onto the chair, so the girls will be able to have their legs clamped out, okay, while they're on the broadcast machine. And the broadcast machine makes you in a catatonic sleep state. It makes your body drowsy into a sleep state, and you're on mind control. So you just kind of fall into a virtual reality where you don't really know what's going on with your human self. Meanwhile, your legs are clamped up in these stirrup things, in these leg clamps that they have built onto the chair, and all the guys will take turns just nutting and the girls and just having sex with them. I've seen Emily and these other girls leaking, just nasty, just piles, just disgusting. I've seen them in the chair. They call it a sex chair. I call it the rape chair. Okay, is where they rigged the clamps and the broadcast into a wooden chair. Okay, I call it the rape chair because they're always sleeping. And I've seen a guy having sex, fucking the girl on the chair with 5 or 6 guys in line, and they just wait in line, okay? And they just take turns and go one after another, after another, after another. That's how they do it. And sometimes these girls actually have sex with 20 or more people in a day or in a session on the broadcast machine while they're not even really coherent. So they really have no idea what's going on with their physical body. They can watch themselves as the broadcast that they're connected to. They can stand there and watch themselves, and they're okay with this. Okay, so I call it a rape chair because they're out cold, and half the time they don't know who's fucking them. But at the end of the day, they know what's going on, and they can always look in their neuromonitoring, or they can watch, and they know what's going on, and they choose to continue to do this day in and day out. Okay, Antoine Davis is the main broadcast house around here, his house, and that's where Emily Godwin and Kimberly Altwell and a couple other girls hang out over there with 20 guys and do this broadcasting all the time. Okay, there's also some straps, okay, that sometimes they'll wear these straps across their body, and those carry a light voltage through them, and that's to amp it up more when they put the voltage to their body. And that's when if you listen to some of my recordings, when you hear that's their bodies, their telepathic noise coming from their mind while the voltage is going through them, and they can't help it. So when I start recording, it's just in the recordings all the time. When they use these electrical straps, that's to get more distance, more range out of the broadcast to go to a farther distance, to still be able to control the broadcast and see back from it and feel back from it with these artificial EEGs through the system or whatever. So that's how it all works, and that's what these devices look like. Also, when they're a broadcast, when they're living virtually as a broadcast, they're hologram EMF broadcast, and you can feel these broadcasts. The real holograms, it's a thick broadcast, okay? And you could feel them if they're by you. You could feel them. If they touch you, it hurts. Feels like you're being electrocuted, or it's just painful. But these broadcasts can have a virtual device, a virtual phone broadcaster. So when I say they make a virtual device in Android Studio, that's how they use it. So then they can control their telepathic and broadcast settings even as a broadcast while their body's asleep with the virtual device. They can also use their regular phone to log into this virtual device. It's usually hosted with AMPPS somewhere on the net, and they can just log into it. So what they'll do is they'll like broadcast from Antoine or Marcus' house to over here by my house, and then connect to my Wi-Fi with their virtual device. And then that's how they're on the internet to be able to control the settings on the neural monitoring as a broadcast. So when I say they're using a virtual device, it's literally a virtual device, but it's a broadcast and it's physically there. I've actually had one of them come up and hand me this virtual device, and I could see it in my hand, but it's hard to hold. It wants to slip out of your hand because it's just waves, but it's literally there. So I had one that was supposed to be Emily's phone one time. Ricky handed it to me, and I laid it flat on my phone, and my phone screen was off, and I actually turned it on, and it was a different looking setup, but it was an Android, and it was a virtual device, and I actually had it turned on and started to be able to go into it for a second, and I think they unbroadcasted it. So that's how it all works. I know it sounds really bizarre, but those are the devices that they use, and that's all they use. Other than that, they just connect everything with the neural monitoring and the satellites broadcast, everything within the electromagnetic field, and that's the infrastructure, and that's the devices. And all you need to do is be on the neural monitoring site and have a mind control, which they say they get those for $38, and I think the broadcast is more like a couple hundred. So they're not very expensive. $38 for a mind control, and they get them from people on the neural monitoring site, and everybody around here has one. They all have them. I caught Travis in my bathroom with one on one time when he was over here broadcasting with Emily. I've seen them at a distance with them on, and I've seen them in reflections with them on. I know exactly how they look. I seen one up close when I was at this guy's house, but it was covered up. But I seen the wires coming out, and then I seen the little box that it was connected to with the green little power meter lights on the side of it. I asked him about it, and he acted real shady, and then basically they wanted me to leave. So. But I'm always trying to infiltrate to get this information out to everybody because these gang stalkers are horrible, evil people. So that's the devices they use, and that's how it all works, and that's what they look like. And I swear to God, it's the truth.